This is bleistiftrocker.de and I am joined today by Lauri from the Rasmus. Hello, nice to see you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks so much. I'm talking to you on a Monday morning. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in Finland, not in Helsinki. I was supposed to say I'm in Karjaa, which is my new hometown in Finland. Yeah, I just recently moved back to Finland from America. I lived 11 years abroad, and I'm really glad to be back in Finland. It's cold and rainy, the way I like it.
When did you move?
Oh, it was in June
All right, so very recently.
recently, yeah.
And there's some other stuff you did recently. You just released a new album with your band. It's called Weirdo. Are you still excited after all these years and all those releases? It's album number 11 now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the only thing I really enjoy doing. Like that's my only hobby that stayed for life. And making music is just the perfect way to channel my thoughts and my anger or my you know whatever it is as an artist. Making these like 3 minute clips called songs is just wonderful. I love making this, and it's been 30 years since we started the band, but I still believe that I'm kind of the same kid. Something in me like stayed unchanged. Like I think to have this band and this chance that always kind of escaping the reality every once in a while, it's really something that keeps me hooked on this thing. Like now that we're starting the tour, for example, for the rest of the year. I'm just gonna jump on the tour bus, and it's gonna take me to all these beautiful cities all around the world, and I'm able to be traveling with my best friends, and almost like having like a school trip or something like that.
I'm pretty sure you just did a lot of promotion for the new album. Can you describe it in one sentence?
Uh, Dare to be different. Yeah, it's called Weirdo. It's a word that has been present in my life from, forever. I think as I was a kid, people would call me that and make fun out of me, or, bully me or insult me with that word. But I've always kept my style and just still wanted to be always the way I am, not change myself for any of that. And I think it's an important message that you should love yourself as the way you are and express yourself exactly the way you want. And, you know, don't try to make yourself like the others. Don't change your personality. And I think now, 30 years after, I think I'm still that weirdo guy in in some ways, and I want to celebrate that and also make that word as a positive word. So that's why we bring it back after 30 years.
What makes you a weirdo?
Well, I think like there's a lot of like things in life that you're kind of supposed to do, like you know go to school, get the job, like be wealthy, especially nowadays. Like it's crazy, like how social media puts pressure on kids. Like I can see these like clips. I don't know why I get those, but it's also like I think in there like younger people who are, I don't know if they are or just pretending to be very successful, and they have you know perfect looks. They have money enough to fix their nose if it's not perfect, and they have investments, and they have like this and that, and you know it's like crazy that when you're like 20 years old you're supposed to know what you're going to be when you grow up, or you should have invested in some properties and bullshit like that. It's really there's so much life still ahead of you, and you can keep looking, and you don't have to know what you are, who you are, like ever. Like you can just like myself. I think I'm far from being a complete or ready person in life or musically or in any way. I have so much to learn, and I have so many things to discover, and like I can, you know, develop myself in many ways. And it's fine. I've still had this wonderful life. So I think that's kind of the message that we want to send out there. Like, don't worry, don't take pressure. Just like enjoy your life, and you know, have a good time instead of like trying to push too hard.
So is the title track also some kind of core of the album?
Yes, the title track "Weirdo" is the first song we thought that was good enough to be on the album, and it happened very early stage of the recording writing process. And sometimes you try to find that key song that will shape the rest of the album, and in this case Weirdo was kind of resonating deeper, and I could feel like, you know, this is really about my life, and this is also sounding very Finnish. Like something about it reminded me of like some traditional Finnish songs, and I felt like, you know, this is a good solid Rasmus song. So that kind of, you know, that was like the perfect starting point for the album. And then we sort of started to just like we dove into this weirdo theme and concept, and then a lot of other songs kind of came from that, like Creatures of Chaos also is like an anthem for outsiders, and almost like the movie The Joker, where he's inviting all the creatures to join him, and you know, it has that vibe.
There are three places tied to the new music: Greece, Nashville, and Finland. Can you explain why? What happened there?
Yeah, we have tradition going to Greece on this tiny island in of Polygandros. We've gone there like 5 times to write music every summer. I try to be there if I'm not too busy touring or something. Um, and together with legendary songwriter Desmond Child, who for the first time invited us to go there already 2007. We wrote an album called Black Roses back then, and we got to get really good friends, and you know, he's teach me how to write better songs, but also he has teach me, you know, a lot about life. He has a lot of experience. You know, he's been around for many legendary rock ages, and you know, he's worked with bands like Kiss or Alice Cooper, Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, you know, endless list of great uh, legendary bands from the 80s, and you know, something that I grew up with. So that's nice. So but then the studio we recorded this album was in Nashville. um, It's Marty Fredrickson, also one of the writers and the producer of the album. He had this place there, and Nashville is a great um, music capital in America, and it was just in the middle of the city center, so it was very inspiring to be there. You know, spending time with the whole band for a couple of weeks, and you know, working at the studio and also going out to see concerts and having drinks and all that. So it was great. And also, we did some work in Finland. Um, there's a song called Rest in Pieces, which is written by me, and that kind of came at the very end of the process. Like we already had everything else finished, and then I just had this incident with an old friend that was very painful, and I wanted to write the song for him, kind of as my revenge, as he betrayed me. And then I felt that song was so strong, and had like I had this urge of getting it on the album. Like I felt like this has to be part of this album because it just happened so instantly, and I started recording my vocals myself on my laptop, and even did most of the production myself. And so I was happy that it ended up being on the album, because I would like to better my skills as an producer in the future. It would be really good to know better how to do it, because I have a lot of visions and ideas, but my technical knowing is not the best. So I always have to have people to help me. But but it's still, it's you know, yeah, whatever. Sorry,
No,
I have
perfect.
so long answers.
No, it was the question was
Getting
about
lost.
three places, so that is I expected this long answer.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was about producing. But you're a songwriter since the 90s. Did songwriting get easier for you or more complicated over time?
Easier. I've always been kind of fearing, like, when will I run out of ideas? But I don't think it's happening. Like, because I'm also feeding myself with a lot of music. I'm listening to a lot, like, current music. Like yesterday, just for fun, I was listening like four different Spotify rock playlists, almost like 100 songs each. Not fully maybe every song, but anyway, I wanted to know where the world stands with rock music, and that's super inspiring. So I woke up this morning writing a song because I had all this, like, information and inspiration in my head. So I think it's some people who maybe back in the days were writing good songs, and then suddenly stop writing good songs or any songs. I think it's because they change their lifestyle, and they become isolated from music, or they, I don't know, if they get too rich and life all of a sudden is too easy, and they don't have to go through any struggle, or, I don't know, maybe they have different uh, type of pain in their life. I don't know, but somehow it feels like you have to really live like a real life to get influenced by real things, and then write songs about that.
There were many changes in the music industry since you started. What was the hardest thing you had to adapt to?
Well, I don't think anything has been hard. Um, and like, if you think of, like, streaming came, social media came. Um, I think it's just like you have to adapt in the modern world. That's like, if you want to stay in the game, you have to have that TikTok account. It's like, I know for some people it's really pain in the ass. For me, it's just a little bit. But honestly, if you find your own voice on TikTok, for example, like your own style of doing things, then it's fine. But you don't have to, like, if you have to try to copy someone else and be like, then it won't work. Like, you have to find your own way of doing this. And I just enjoy that instant connection with people, because when we started, we didn't have all this luxury. Like, we would work with media, let's say like a radio, and then they would, play the song and then people hear it. But we don't get that comment, the feedback from the fans, only at the concerts maybe, but, like feels like everybody's now closer. But at the same time, I think it's sometimes bad that you get so much feedback because obviously some of it is really negative, and then you might start reading those, and then you might start getting doubtful about yourself, and you might start changing yourself because you think like, oh, there's something wrong with me, even though it was just one person who wrote something. And so I try to kind of balance how much I read of the comments. I've already kind of moved on into the next thing in my life. Once we drop the album on Friday, I'm already like thinking of the next album. And that's better because I don't want to stop and I don't want to slow down. And I think if I would get a lot of criticism, I might, be so fragile that I start to fall apart or something. So better just kind of do your own thing and have people have their comments.
Sounds good. You know what? We already met a bit more than 3 years ago, and I'm pretty sure you don't remember because it was at Eurovision in concert in Amsterdam. That was some weeks before your Eurovision performance, and there were dozens of journalists and fans eager to talk to you, to interview you. There was a lot of, yeah, I don't know, pressure maybe, but interest for you and for this one song, Jezebel, you were at Eurovision with. How do you look back on this Eurovision experience?
It was a good thing to do, I think, because we had just had Empu joining our band as a new guitarist, and we had this opportunity to do something together as a new Rasmus, and this opportunity also felt great after COVID because there was so much like it was so devastating having everything shut down and for musicians like not to able to play concerts. And so when we entered the Eurovision, it was still we had to do the tests, COVID test every morning, and it was still like the very end of that COVID uh, era. So it was a good thing to do, and we didn't win the thing, but it wasn't the whole point of it. Like it was more like we got tighter as a new group, and it was good to have something to aim for, and in that kind of case it's very obvious, like let's win this thing, like and it was good, like we had some good focus and we came up with that song, and ever since I think we've gained so many new followers. Something started, like a snowball effect from that day. So also younger people have discovered us. We can see now from statistics, like Spotify and everything. So it's really nice thing.
And what did you learn as a band?
Uh, I think if you go to this kind of event like Eurovision, you can't take it too seriously. Like it's a special event, like, and you're competing with music which is not really okay. I think because like it's hard to put like music in order, especially different artists, and they all have different styles. And but I kind of understood that it's not the whole point, like who gets to win the whole thing. Like it's more like we're all part of it as like Europe, you know 30, 40 countries together, in the same event, and that is like really amazing. And that's a great thing that every year it's happening, because we need that uniting feeling, and especially these crazy times in the world right now. So that's nice.
And before entering Eurovision, you had to do UMK, with this the Finnish national final. And it's very rare that established artists do this and go to a competition. So would you empower other established bands or artists to do it?
Yeah, I would. I think it's just people think it's scary because if they lose, they're like, they don't, it's too much for their pride to take. Like, if, because it's a competition, and then there can be someone who's just started their career like 1 month ago on some TikTok star, and then all of a sudden you have your legendary thing there, and they're on the same line. It's an interesting setup. So I think it's not for everybody, but also I think people who can't have that self irony, or people who can't laugh at themselves, who take themselves too seriously, they cannot enter this competition. You have to be like flexible and like certain type to do it.
And after Eurovision, you teamed up with Kalush Orchestra, and I think you just did a gig with them in summer in Ukraine. What can you tell me about this?
Yes, we had a chance to play at the Ukrainian festival, the only festival the government allows them to have. It was a charity event, so we would donate all the money for a children's hospital that was bombed last summer, unfortunately, and we got to visit the hospital too and met some of the patients, and it was very heartbreaking to go there, but also we could see some of the heroic people who, like some of the doctors, and also like just normal people, local people came to help, and we could see some videos and photos of that. So we could also have a glimpse of the Ukrainian fighting spirit, which is really strong, and I'm really proud of them. And then we played a festival, which was kind of scary because the night before we experienced this bombing, and we had to sleep in the bomb shelter for that previous night because there were 13 missiles and 300 drones hovering above our heads in Kiev. But the day of the festival, there was nothing, so we could play the thing, and we could bring the message of hope and joy for these people in the middle of the crisis. And it really felt meaningful being there. And I was really proud of our band also that we did it. It was like we were the only international act. They had asked many, and everybody said no, and everybody canceled them. So when they asked us, we said like yes, like right away, and then we started to figure out how to do it, and what are the risks. But we have a connection to Ukraine from before with Kalush Orchestra, also from Eurovision, but also way before that, way before the war. We have been touring in Ukraine for years, and so we have many fans there. Sorry, my light went off.
So this is a sign.
I think we have like 2 minutes left. That I have to check.
Exactly, that's the sign, the light, and these are impressive words, and I think we can just end this here. It was thank you for taking us to Ukraine and telling us about your gig you did there. And people can see you on tour, of course. You just started your tour with your new album. We'll put the dates in the description, of course. And
Great.
yeah, so thank you so much for talking to me, and all the best for you and the band, of course.
Thank you. Nice questions. Have a nice day.